Amani Kalea woke up with a soft smile, believing this day would feel special. The lively streets of Kadonzo Hills were already waking up, but her heart was focused on one thing, her 5th wedding anniversary. She had always held this day close, remembering every moment of her marriage with love and hope. She expected Rashidi Makoa to at least notice her excitement, or for someone in the house to say something kind, but the morning felt strangely normal. Rashidi rushed around preparing for work, talking about meetings and errands. Her sisters-in-law argued about chores and clothes. No one looked at her long enough to sense her emotion. Amani stayed quiet, trying to convince herself that maybe someone would remember later. She prepared breakfast slowly, hoping a small gesture might jog their memory. But everyone ate in a hurry and left the table without a single thoughtful word. She felt like a shadow moving around people who didn't see her. Each minute made her chest heavier, as if her presence didn't matter at all. She didn't want to beg for attention or force anyone to care. She simply wanted to feel valued by the people she loved. Instead of letting the silence crush her, she stepped outside to breathe. The cool morning air felt kinder than the voices inside her home. She walked through the busy roads, watching life move around her with ease while she carried quiet disappointment. The colorful shops, cheerful neighbors, and distant music didn't match the emptiness she felt, but the walk gave her space to think. As she passed the children's shelter, she heard laughter spilling out into the street, pure, bright, and full of life. The sound pulled her in without planning. She peeked inside and saw little ones playing with toys that looked old but well-loved. Their joy warmed her heart instantly. Something inside her softened, and she walked in to greet them. The children ran to her with open arms, smiling as if she had been part of their world forever. Their affection filled the space in her heart that had been ignored all morning. In that moment, Amani realized that even though the people at home forgot her, life was giving her a chance to feel seen in a completely unexpected way. Her forgotten anniversary was already becoming something she would never forget. Amani prepared breakfast with a soft hope in her heart, moving around the kitchen with extra care. She placed the plates gently on the table, thinking that maybe the smell of warm food or the quiet excitement on her face would remind someone of the day she had been waiting for. She kept glancing at Rashidi as he scrolled through his phone, expecting even a small smile toward her. She looked at her sisters-in-law as they chatted loudly about clothes and errands. She waited for a word, a hint, anything. But the room buzzed with everything except the moment she hoped for. Rashidi grabbed his cup, talking about work troubles. Her sisters-in-law asked her for favors without even noticing her expression. Not one person paused long enough to see the hope fading in her eyes. She kept forcing a small smile, telling herself not to expect too much. But the silence was heavy. It felt like the house she served every day had no space for her feelings. The sting of being overlooked hit deeper with each passing second. She didn't ask anyone, "Do you remember what today is?" She didn't want to beg for attention. She wanted them to see her without needing reminders. That was the part that hurt the most. She had imagined a warm morning, maybe a flower, a hug, or even a simple message. Instead, she stood in a room full of people who didn't notice how important this day was to her heart. When everyone finished eating and moved on with their routines, she felt a knot tighten in her chest. She didn't raise her voice, because arguing would only make her seem needy. She didn't complain, because she knew it wouldn't change anything. She simply watched them walk away, each lost in their own plans, leaving her behind with a quiet ache. Slowly, she walked to her room, took a deep breath, and decided she wouldn't spend the rest of the day waiting for someone to care. She picked up her small bag, stepped outside, and closed the door gently behind her. The fresh air touched her face, but her heart felt heavy, as if she was carrying all the disappointment alone. She didn't know where she was going, but she knew she needed to leave before the sadness swallowed her completely. In that moment, Amani realized that sometimes the loudest kind of pain is the one you don't speak about, the one you carry quietly while everyone else moves on like nothing is wrong. Amani walked slowly through the busy roads of Kadonzo Hills, trying to calm the ache in her chest. The town was full of life, vendors calling out prices, children running barefoot, music playing from small shops. But none of it could lift her mood. She kept her eyes on the ground, thinking about how easily the people she cared for had forgotten something that meant so much to her. She felt lost in her thoughts until a burst of cheerful laughter floated from a nearby building. The sound was bright, warm, and full of life, completely different from the silence she had left behind at home. She looked up and realized she was walking past the children's shelter run by Mama Nurai, a kind elderly woman known for her gentle heart. The building was small and old, but the happiness coming from inside made it feel alive. Curious, Amani stepped closer and peeked through the doorway. Inside, several young children were playing on the floor with toys that were clearly worn out, but their joy made them look brand new. They laughed, shared, and played like they had everything they needed. Their energy touched something deep inside her, melting a bit of the sadness she carried. Without thinking too much, she stepped inside, planning only to greet them and leave. But the moment the children saw her, their faces lit up. They rushed toward her with open arms, calling out with excitement, as if she was someone they had been waiting for. Their tiny hands wrapped around her arms and waist, holding her tightly. Amani felt taken by surprise, yet touched in a way she hadn't felt in a long time. Their affection wasn't forced, and it wasn't expected. It was real, pure, and honest. Mama Nurai smiled from across the room, watching how naturally the children connected with her. She said softly, "They don't get many visitors. Your presence makes them feel special." Amani felt her heart soften even more. For the first time that day, she felt seen, not because someone remembered a date, but because someone genuinely appreciated her warmth. As she sat on the floor with the little ones gathered around her, she realized that the day she thought was ruined was turning into something unexpectedly beautiful. The pain she carried began to feel lighter, replaced by a gentle warmth spreading through her chest. Her mourning had been forgotten by those at home, but here in this simple shelter, she felt valued in a way she didn't expect. Amani looked around the room, seeing the children's bright faces and their excitement just from her presence. Something inside her shifted. She reached into her small bag and touched the money she had saved for her anniversary. She had planned to buy a special dinner or maybe a small gift for the home, but now that plan no longer felt important. Instead, she felt a deep pull in her heart. These little ones had so little, yet their joy was bigger than anything she had felt all morning. Without overthinking it, she stepped outside and headed toward the nearby market. She walked through the stalls picking up fresh food, soft bread, sweet snacks, and small treats that children often dream about. She even bought a few colorful items, simple things that could make them smile. Each item she placed in her basket made her feel lighter, as if she was slowly letting go of the sadness she had carried. When she returned to the shelter with bags full of surprises, the children gasped, their eyes widened, their mouths opened in disbelief, and then they rushed toward her with happiness too big to contain. Mama Nurai helped her arrange everything on a small table. The moment the kids saw the spread of food and treats, the room exploded with joy. They began to dance, clap, and sing, their little voices echoing with pure excitement. Some held her hands and spun around in circles. Others hugged her legs tightly as if they never wanted her to leave. The way they celebrated her made her feel like she was the most important person in their world. It wasn't planned, and it wasn't expected. It was real appreciation, the kind she had been craving but never received at home. As she watched them enjoy every bite and every moment, her heart felt warm for the first time that day. She didn't feel forgotten anymore. She felt needed. She felt valued. Every smile they gave her filled the empty spaces inside her. She realized that the sadness she felt earlier had brought her here, to a place where her kindness made a real difference. In that instant, she understood something powerful. The hurt she carried that morning was the very reason she ended up giving joy to these children. Her disappointment had guided her toward a purpose she didn't expect. What began as a painful morning was turning into a day she would remember for all the right reasons. Mama Nurai watched Amani laughing with the children, her face glowing with a warmth that filled the entire room. Wanting to capture the moment, she lifted her small phone and snapped a picture of Amani surrounded by smiling little faces. Later, she shared the photo on the community page with a simple caption thanking Amani for bringing joy to the shelter. Within minutes, people began reacting. Comments poured in, praising her kindness and calling her a blessing to the town. Neighbors who knew her, and even those who didn't, wrote messages saying how beautiful it was to see someone choose love over sadness. As the post spread, more people shared it. Market vendors, teachers, youth groups. Everyone was touched by the sight of Amani sitting among the children like she belonged there. The image felt powerful, almost like a scene from a story meant to inspire others. While Amani was busy helping Mama Nurai serve food, her name was quietly becoming the talk of Kidanzo Hills. She had no idea the whole community was watching her with admiration. Back at her home, the picture reached Rashidi first. He was scrolling through his feed when the familiar face caught his eye. His heart dropped. He stared at the photo of his wife smiling beautifully while holding two small children. The realization hit him with force. He had forgotten the one day that mattered most to her. His family saw the same image shortly afterward. Shock rushed through the house as they read the comments praising Amani. People were calling her generous, kind-hearted, and thoughtful. The family exchanged worried looks. They hadn't even noticed she was gone for so long, and now the entire community was celebrating her. The small mistakes they made in the morning suddenly felt enormous. They knew how it would look to others. Amani was giving love to strangers, while the people closest to her had ignored her special day. Panic flooded them as they realized they appeared selfish and careless. Rashidi felt his stomach twist with guilt. He remembered how she had served breakfast quietly, how her eyes looked tired, how he hadn't bothered to ask if she was okay. Now everyone was seeing her in a light he had taken for granted. The fear of losing her respect, or worse her warmth, began to sink deeper. He knew he had to find her and make things right before the damage grew even bigger. Rashidi hurried through the streets with his heart pounding, barely noticing the people he passed. Embarrassment and guilt weighed heavily on him as he rushed toward the shelter. He kept replaying the morning in his mind, how he ignored her quiet smile, how he walked past her without a second thought. Seeing her picture online had shaken him deeply. When he finally reached the entrance, he stopped for a moment, trying to catch his breath and gather the courage to walk inside. The moment he stepped in, he saw Amani sitting with the children, helping them open the small treat she brought. Her face looked peaceful, almost glowing, and the children clung to her like she was their safe place. Rashidi's chest tightened. He approached slowly, feeling smaller with each step. When she looked up at him, he felt exposed. Words started tumbling from his mouth. Apologies, excuses, regrets. He said he didn't mean to forget, that he didn't realize how much today mattered, that he felt ashamed. But Amani didn't interrupt him with anger. She didn't raise her voice or throw harsh words at him. She simply listened, calm and composed, her expression steady. When he finally stopped talking, she spoke softly, her voice filled with quiet strength. She told him she hadn't come here to punish him or make him look bad. She explained that she chose to spend her day with the children because their hearts needed comfort, and she needed peace. She didn't want to sit at home waiting for someone to notice her pain. She wanted to give love where it was needed. Her words hit Rashidi harder than any argument could. He realized he had spent so much time assuming she would always stay patient, always stay quiet, always take care of everything without asking for anything in return. He saw how deeply he had taken her gentle nature for granted. Watching her surrounded by children who adored her made him understand how precious her kindness truly was. Rashidi lowered his head, feeling the weight of what he had overlooked for years. He saw clearly that Amani wasn't just a wife who waited for attention. She was someone with a heart big enough to heal others even while hurting herself. In that moment, he understood that if he didn't change, he would lose the warmth he had been treating as ordinary, even though it was the most extraordinary part of his life. The news about Amani's kindness continued to spread across Kidanzo Hills, and soon everyone in the community knew what she had done. People admired how she turned a painful day into a moment of giving. They respected the way she chose love over anger. Within a few days, the town organized a small gathering at the shelter to honor her. Neighbors, shopkeepers, teachers, and local leaders all came to show appreciation. They thanked her for reminding the town that compassion still mattered. Amani stood quietly among them, touched by how warmly they received her. She never expected recognition, yet she felt deeply grateful. The children were the happiest of all. They had grown attached to her after spending just one day together. They wanted to give her something special, so they used papers, beads, dried flowers, and pieces of fabric to create small handmade gifts. Some made little bracelets, others drew pictures of her holding their hands. When they presented the items to her, they called her Mama Amani, their voices full of love. The name made her eyes fill with emotion. She hugged them tightly, realizing they had given her something she hadn't felt in a long time, a sense of belonging. Rashidi's family attended the gathering too, standing quietly at the back. Seeing the respect Amani received, they felt a deep sense of shame. They knew how easily they could have broken her spirit. They understood now that her gentle nature was not weakness. It was strength, and that strength had touched an entire community, while they had ignored her feelings. From that day on, they treated her with more care, speaking to her with softness and recognizing her value in ways they never had before. Rashidi watched her with new eyes. He realized he had almost lost someone whose kindness reached far beyond their home. He promised himself he would never again overlook the love she offered so freely. When the event ended and Amani stood outside the shelter for a quiet moment, the evening breeze brushed her face. She looked at the children laughing nearby and whispered to herself, almost like a secret meant only for her heart, "Sometimes the family you choose remembers you more than the family you wait for." Her words carried a truth she had learned through pain and healing. And as she walked back toward home, she felt stronger, knowing her worth didn't depend on who forgot her, but on who truly saw her. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next story.